Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the podcast. And today, I'm going to go my review of Monday Night Raw. Starting off the night, man, we have Gunther coming out to the ring. He is greeted by none other than Michael Cole. Michael Cole conducts an interview with Gunther in the middle of the ring. Gunther grabs a microphone and says that Jay is full of crap. He also mocks Jay. Gunther says that he is the greatest world heavyweight champion of all time. Gunther then talks about Jay, or beating Jimmy Uso. Pretty much leaving him in the middle of the ring, a bloody mess. Gunther says that he is walking out of WrestleMania still world heavyweight champion. Some interesting stuff there from Gunther. Moving on from that, we go into our first official match of Monday Night Raw last night. It was Liv Morgan taking on Bayley. I thought it was a decent match. Back and forth matchup between Morgan and Bayley, with Morgan keeping the pace of the match. Morgan then hits a suplex off the steel steps on Bayley to the outside. Morgan then hits an enziguri on Bayley for a near fall. Morgan then hits a code breaker on the apron on Bayley. Bayley gets up, hits a belly-to-belly on Morgan. Lyra attacks Rodriguez. That was ringside. Bayley then attacks Rodriguez. Liv then hits a backstabber on Bayley, but Bayley gets up, somehow hits a roll-up on Liv Morgan, pins for the 3. And your winner of the match is Bayley. Hats off to Bayley for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is Rey Mysterio taking on Julius Creed. I thought it was a good match. Back and forth matchup between Mysterio and Creed, with Creed keeping the pace of the match. Mysterio then quickly hits an Hurricanrana on Creed. Chad Gable is here. He attacks Rey. Lee then attacks Gable. The referee then throws out American Made and the LWO. But then all of a sudden, Grande Americano is here. Rey then hits a 619 on Creed, pins for the 3. And your winner of the match is Rey Mysterio. After the match, Americano then attacks Rey. LWO is here, but Americano fights LWO off. Some interesting stuff there between Rey Mysterio and Grande Americano. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It's AJ Styles taking on Karrion Kross. I will say the one interesting thing I will say about this matchup is that we actually saw Karrion Kross with his old NXT theme, which I thought was really cool. The match itself, though, man, it was a good match. It was a back-and-forth matchup between Kross and Styles, with Kross pretty much keeping the pace of the match. Kross hits a Death Valley driver on Styles in the middle of the ring for a near fall, but AJ goes to the outside, hits a springboard, phenomenal forearm, taking out Kross, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is AJ Styles. After the match, AJ Styles is interrupted by Logan Paul. Logan Paul is standing at the stage, has a microphone in hand. Logan mocks the crowd in Sacramento. Logan talks about WrestleMania. Logan Paul then plays a video package of himself. Says that he's pretty much trying to hype up the matchup that he has at WrestleMania, saying that it's the money match. Logan then attacks AJ Styles. Logan then hits a pulverizer on AJ, leaving AJ in the middle of the ring. Moving on from that, we have Jey Uso. Jey Uso comes out to the ring. He is standing on the announce table. Jey talks about what happened with Gunther last week. Jey also says that he is locked in for WrestleMania. Jey says that Gunther is now afraid of Jey Uso. Some interesting stuff there from Jey Uso leading up to their matchup between himself and Gunther at WrestleMania. Moving on from that, we had Penta taking on Finn Balor. I thought it was a good match, man. Back and forth matchup between Penta and Balor, with Penta keeping the pace of the match. The Judgment Day are here. Braun Breaker is here as well. Referee sounds for the bell, and the match ends in a disqualification, but Braun Breaker hits a spear on Dominic Mysterio and Carlito. Some interesting stuff there from Braun Breaker. Moving on from that, we have Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns is closing out the show. Roman Reigns comes out to the ring with the Wiseman. Roman has a microphone. Roman asks the Wiseman how could he betray him. Heyman says that he did not betray Reigns, that he paid back a favor to Punk. Roman says that he will never ask for a favor, and that the Bloodline just get things done. Roman says that he never asked for help in War Games. After that, Roman is interrupted by none other than Rollins. Rollins is here. Rollins says that their triple threat match is the biggest triple threat match in WWE history. Rollins then mocks Punk. Rollins says that he has to win or the business will die. Rollins then calls Heyman a scumbag. Rollins then tells Reigns that he needs to figure out why Heyman chose Punk and not him. After that, Roman then attacks Rollins And then Roman ends up pushing the Wiseman down to the mat. It looks like Roman finally trying to figure out what's going on, but it looks like Seth Rollins finally got underneath the skin of the Tribal Chief. A couple of things I want to talk about, man, when it pertains to Monday Night Raw before I get the hell up out of here. Obviously, this is a huge week for WWE. You got, obviously Monday Night Raw last night. You got, the go-home show for Raw. You got, SmackDown on Friday. And then we got WrestleMania. WrestleMania is the Super Bowl of wrestling. It is the biggest show of the year for all professional wrestling. And you watched Monday Night Raw last night, man. I'm going to be honest. I made comments about Jey Uso and Gunther storyline. So I wanted to talk about this briefly and talk about the rest of the night. But I'm going to start with Jey. Jey Uso and Gunther storyline, man, it was running its course and not in a good way. And then we had Gunther facing off against Jimmy, which I told you guys leading up to that matchup that there was something that Gunther had to do to make it personal against Jey. Whether that was attacking Jimmy, leaving Jimmy, bloody in the ring, or attacking, Rikishi, Jimmy and Jay's dad, something that Gunther had to do to send a personal message to Jey for Jey to flip that switch. And we finally got that with, Gunther pretty much beating the piss out of Jimmy Uso in the middle of the ring as Jey is pretty much tied up to the ropes and watching, Gunther pretty much beat the hell out of his brother. And then that switch was flipped for Jey, and Jey, now it's personal. And Jey cut that promo on Gunther, and Jey, told Gunther that, hey, I'm not afraid of you. Come WrestleMania, I'm taking that goddamn title away from you, and I'm walking out WrestleMania World Heavyweight Champion. Which is great. I'm happy that they finally, brought some more spotlight to this story, because the story really wasn't there in the beginning. But with that being said, bro, do I see Jey walking out World Heavyweight Champion? Yeah, I do. And a lot of people, in my defense, were against Jey Uso winning the Royal Rumble. I was all for it. I mean, I praised Jey Uso for a while, and I've said blatantly that Jey Uso has busted his ass to get to where he's at now, from, winning the Intercontinental title to, being in a high-profile matchup for the World Heavyweight Championship, winning the Royal Rumble. I mean, Jey Uso has busted his ass to get to where he's at now. Absolutely. And if you're not a Jey Uso fan, I don't know what to tell you. The guy is a main eventer. The guy is, he's best for business right now. But as far as that, the excitement for the match for me, is it there? No, it's not. Which I'll talk about towards the end of the podcast. But just this WrestleMania, this year alone, just kind of feels like it's a stalemate, to be honest with you. Which, like I said, I'll talk about more towards the end of the podcast. But, when it pertains to, to Jey and Gunther, I'm happy that they intensified the story. Hopefully we get a whole different side of Jey, which we should see at WrestleMania. I do see Jey Uso walking out of WrestleMania World Heavyweight Champion. The other things I want to talk about too, man, is that, is the build-up towards WrestleMania. The build-up towards this year's WrestleMania is just not there. I genuinely believe that there were some things going on behind closed doors that just, were in the cards for this year's WrestleMania, and they just fell flat. For example, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I do genuinely believe that The Rock was supposed to wrestle at this year's WrestleMania, and they just pulled the plug on it. It might have been something from Dwayne or, other higher-ups in the... I mean, then again, Dwayne is, on the board for WWE. This could have been something where he just pulled himself out of a match and didn't want to be a part of this year's WrestleMania. Do I think he'll be there? Yeah, he should be, especially in the main event between Cody Rhodes and John Cena. He should play a small part in that matchup, or at least walk out to the ring with John Cena. Yeah, I mean, The Rock does play a big, significant role in that story between Cena and Rhodes, absolutely. It's just, the card for WrestleMania, it just looks weak, man. For me personally, and this is just my personal opinion, man, for me, there's two matches for WrestleMania that I'm looking forward to the most, and that being the triple threat matchup between Reigns, Rollins, and Punk, and then we got Cody Rhodes defending the Universal title against John Cena. Those are the two most hyped up matches for me personally for this year's WrestleMania. Other than that, I can honestly give a rat's ass, to be honest with you, and it's a shame. I think personally, if you look what happened last year at WrestleMania, and to me, honestly, when you have WrestleMania, I think the goal would be, okay, well, we need to top what happened last year at last year's WrestleMania to make this WrestleMania even better than last year. I don't see that happening. Last year's WrestleMania could probably go down as one of the greatest WrestleManias of all time. That moment with, Cody completing the story and everything else like that, and, the people we saw involved in the matchup, from John Cena to Solo Sikoa to The Undertaker, The Rock getting involved. There's a lot of moving parts in that main event matchup, and it was just great. Do I think we're going to get something similar to that at this year's WrestleMania? I don't know. but there has to be something that's going to be intriguing for this year's WrestleMania. I'm not seeing it. What could be intriguing is if John Cena does beat Cody Rhodes and becomes a 17-time World Heavyweight Champion. Because from what I understand, John Cena is actually booked for more appearances and more matches, from what I understand, after WrestleMania. He's already on the marquee for, I think, Backlash in France. Or Clash at the Castle in France or something like that coming up in France here soon. He's on the poster for it. So to me, it seems as if John Cena will be a part of that PLE. So for me, yeah, I'm not against Rhodes losing the belt and Rhodes chases after John Cena. John Cena being a heel, it just works. It does. And we're going to see John Cena again on SmackDown a day before WrestleMania. So hopefully, we get some more insight on what's going on here. But the build up towards these matches, man, it's just not there. It's just not. And I'm not the only one saying that. There's a lot of people, other podcasters out there that have, stressed their grievances towards this year's WrestleMania, man, that they're not happy. There's, lack of build, lack of story, lack of excitement. And it just is. I feel as if Triple H and the team over there in WWE are kind of, pumping the brakes a little bit. And I feel like, I'm going to go back to what I said about with the Rumble. I feel like there was so much hype leading up until that year's Rumble. And after the Rumble, man, they just slowly started pumping the brakes a little bit every now and then with WWE. I'm not saying that every show needs to be great. I'm not saying that. But, there needs to be more build and more excitement. And right now, I'm just not getting it. A lot of people, are saying that Las Vegas is kind of like some bad juju for WWE as far as WrestleManias are concerned, because we've had WrestleManias in Vegas. I think it was WrestleMania 9, if I'm not mistaken. Or one of the WrestleManias they had. I remember, Taker was facing off against Giant Gonzalez. It was a decent card, but it wasn't the best. And just a lot of things happened on that WrestleMania. So, I don't know how this is going to look for this year's WrestleMania. I'm hoping that we get some surprises, maybe some, returns or something to, intensify WrestleMania. But if I'm going to be honest, I think the Raw after Mania is going to have more of an impact than WrestleMania this year is going to have, to be honest with you. Where last year it was completely, reversed. Where WrestleMania blew the roof off the place. Literally. There wasn't even a roof on the stadium that they were in. But that place erupted when Cody finally beat Roman. There wasn't a person standing, sitting in the seats. Everybody was standing up, rooting for Cody. And it was an emotional moment for a lot of people. I don't think we're going to see that this year. I think a lot of people, are either going to be really happy or really pissed off with this year's WrestleMania. And, a lot of people might not be all for Cody dropping the belt to John. But I'm going to be honest, man. I think there's something that they need to do. I think John Cena needs to, break the record. He holds the belt. And, we have Cody Rhodes chase after John Cena, to be honest with you. How Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson fits into that, I don't know. I really don't know. Because to me, honestly, a lot of people, even this WrestleMania, were pointing at Dwayne facing off against Roman. Or are we going to see Cody Rhodes versus The Rock? And we haven't got that yet. We might get it next year, WrestleMania, who knows. But, that's a match between Cody and Rock that needs to happen. It needs to desperately happen. And hopefully we get that soon. But the lack of build, the lack of storyline, the lack of excitement is taking away a lot out of the WrestleMania feel, to be honest with you. I'm not sitting here saying that it's, we're already burned out from WrestleMania. No, WrestleMania's not even here yet. But it's just, it doesn't feel the same as it was last year. And things change. I get it. I fully understand that. And there's some matches on the card that I'm not, that I'm interested in. I'm not super interested in, but there are some matches. I think Jacob Fatu versus LA Knight for the U.S. title is going to be great. I have a lot of praise for Jacob Fatu. I think he's one of the best signings that WWE's had in quite some time. A guy is an absolute beast in the ring. Big fan of LA Knight too. I think LA Knight's great, but I wouldn't be mad if Jacob Fatu beat LA Knight and walked out WWE United States champion. I've said it from the very beginning with Jacob Fatu that Fatu needs, singles gold. He needs singles championships in WWE, and what better way to start that than with none other than the U.S. title. I think he'll have a great run with that belt. It's only going to elevate him in his WWE career to have that title, and he's a force, bro. Jacob Fatu is a force to be reckoned with within that division and within WWE, so I'm all for it. Fatu walks out WrestleMania the new WWE United States champion, and I think he's going to make that belt more prevalent than anybody else. Not taking anything away from LA Knight, But I think Fatu is just, he's going to represent that U.S. title very well. And he's had some banger matches so far since he's been in WWE. So definitely looking forward to that matchup. The triple threat matchup between Rhea, Bianca, and Io Sky, it's going to be a good match. I'm not saying it's not. My standpoint is the same. I feel like it's kind of a forced narrative with Rhea. Because honestly, for what it's worth, Bianca, Rhea lost clean to Io. And it was supposed to be Io versus Bianca Belair. And Belair, it should be Bianca Belair to face off against Io Sky for the Women's World Heavyweight Championship. So, I feel like they're not going to have WrestleMania and not put Rhea Ripley on the card. It's the same thing I said about Randy Orton. With Kevin Owens being out, obviously Randy Orton is looking for a WrestleMania opponent. You're not going to not have Randy Orton a part of WrestleMania. There's no way. It's going to be a mystery opponent. It could be, it could be anybody, bro. It could be a debut or a return. It could be Aleister Black. It could be the return of, Rusev or Miro facing off against Randy Orton. It's a great way to, to bring somebody back without putting them in a storyline. You know what I'm saying? Even some people will say, well, it might be a mistake because they're going to bring someone in and have to take the loss. What's to say they take the loss? You know what I mean? What if they come in and just, they go over? I don't know. I have no idea. Am I all against someone coming back from or a return? I'm all for it. I'm absolutely all for it. And I think it's something that, either we get it at WrestleMania or we definitely get something either, night after Mania or on Raw or on SmackDown. I'm sure, Miro or, if not, Aleister Black is going to be debuting or returning to WWE relatively soon. It's almost imminent at this point. So, we're going to see. They just got the new, they got Penta, they got Rey Fenix. So, at the end of the day, man, it's just one of those things where, the excitement's just not there. It's not there. I'm not saying all the matches are bad. It's just, it's a lack of build, lack of excitement, lack of emotion leading up to this year's WrestleMania. And I feel like there was a lot of things that happened backstage where originally the card was going to be really good, and a lot of things changed, to be honest with you. And you could just tell, man, the way they're booking this year's WrestleMania. A lot of these matches that you're seeing on WrestleMania, honestly, I don't know, to be honest. But I'm looking forward to the triple threat matchup between Reigns, Rollins, and Punk, and obviously John Cena versus Cody Rhodes. I think those are my two top matches I'm looking forward to. Ironically, they're both main event night 1 and night 2, so we're going to see what happens. A lot of matches were just kind of thrown together for WrestleMania, and we're going to see how it plays out. But for me personally, is WrestleMania this year so far underwhelming? Yeah, it is. Until there's something else that happens that we haven't seen yet, I don't see WrestleMania this year topping what they did last year for last year's WrestleMania. I just don't see it. Not a chance in hell. No way. And hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully I am wrong, and if I'm wrong, I'll be the first one to tell you, hey, I was wrong. But for right now, I don't feel like this year's WrestleMania will top what they did last year. There's no way in hell. And like I told you guys, man, it's going to be a busy week. It's going to be a busy week here for the podcast. With the Raw upload, we're going to do, obviously, Dynamite, Friday Night SmackDown, and I'm trying to see if I can fit in a preview and predictions for you guys for this year's WrestleMania for both Night 1 and Night 2. So, again, man, it's a busy week. It's WrestleMania week, probably one of the biggest weeks in professional wrestling of the year. Obviously, everybody's going to be pretty busy in the podcast realm, so, if you guys want the news and rumors and stuff like that and all the news coming out from WWE, this is the place to come. This is the place to be. And again, man, I'm going to give you guys all the information I possibly can. Like I said, I will be doing a review for WrestleMania for both nights, Night 1 and Night 2. That will most likely take place on Monday of next week. And again, I'll have reviews for Dynamite, which will probably take place most likely Thursday. And SmackDown, probably going to try to fit that in no later than Saturday or Sunday for you guys before WrestleMania takes place. That way you guys have your SmackDown review as well. But I'm excited, man. I'm excited to see what happens this week. And hopefully, I'm a little bit more excited about WrestleMania towards the end of the week. But for right now, there's not a lot of excitement coming out of me for this year's WrestleMania, bro. It needs to be a little bit more exciting, a little bit more intrigued for me to get excited for this year's WrestleMania. I'm just not there. And like I said before, man, there's a lot of other people in the podcast realm that are just not really feeling this year's WrestleMania so far. But hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully they can prove me wrong, and hopefully they can intensify this year's WrestleMania a little bit more than what we've been getting. I know SmackDown, after SmackDown, they have the Hall of Fame ceremony right after SmackDown, so they have some legends getting inducted, like Lex Luger. Triple H is getting inducted. The Natural Disasters are getting inducted as well. I believe Kamala is getting inducted. I know there's been speculation about him getting inducted, yes or no. Some people say yes, some people say no. Lex Luger is also getting inducted, which is a big deal. I think DDP is actually going to induct him into the Hall of Fame. A lot of good moments for the Hall of Fame this year, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. So, yeah, man, it's a busy week, and I'm looking forward to WrestleMania. Hopefully, there's some excitement that leads up to this year's WrestleMania. There's a couple matches, like I mentioned earlier, that I'm looking forward to, and we'll see how it plays out, man. But like I said earlier, man, if you guys want to, hear the news and rumors and get the preview and predictions, this is the place to be. I will have a review for WrestleMania for both Night 1 and Night 2. I will have a SmackDown upload as well. And as usually as I do every week, I'll have a review up for Dynamite as well. So, again, man, this is the place to be. If you guys want that information, you guys will be getting that information for the next couple days. So, with that being said, though, man, this is my review of Monday Night Raw. I hope you guys are out there staying safe. Be careful, and remember, stay classic. Peace.